Morning, everybody.
Morning, Mayor.
Welcome to Left of Center.
Left of Center pod.
This is like episode number 6.
We're on 6. We're almost to double digits.
4.
We're getting there.
6?
We're over the hump. We're over the 5 hump.
Oh, yeah. The first 5 are the roughest.
They were rough.
I hear. First 5 are the worst. You get them out of the way, and then you move on. We got a great guest today. Richard Leverett.
Did you get the dress code message?
This is my dress code. I almost
Summer
wore a
Mayor.
T-shirt. I almost wore
That's
But I am
my Friday wear t-shirts.
I am completely outdressed today, I acknowledge. I got
Richard always
Richard
outdresses us.
Kevin's got a suit, sans
Got
tie.
things to do today.
No tie. Where's the tie?
In the pocket.
In the pocket. And then I got Richard, sans tie. He looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
However, if Richard stands up, it'll blow his whole dress code out. But we'll just leave him sitting down. He looks very handsome, right?
These are very comfortable shorts.
We're going to get them as a sponsor.
The seersucker shorts.
They're seersucker and they're stretchy. It's bird dogs.
We need them as a sponsor. Bird Dog Shorts.
Yeah.
Lindsay, John, can we get on that?
What's that?
Bird Dog Shorts.
Oh, yeah?
Bird is completely on brand. I think you
I have no idea about brands.
You dig it, yeah.
Yeah?
It worked for you, for sure.
You should help me get dressed, man.
You can hop right in the pool, he said with them.
Yeah. Where's it? Really?
No, yeah.
I've
been snorkeling in these shorts. I've golfed in these shorts. I've rode 50 miles in Amsterdam in these shorts.
When are you going to ride with me, by the way? You did Wham this year, right?
I did Wham this year, but I went slow.
Okay.
I went slow.
He took it easy.
Yeah.
Richard
do it
is
by
a big
yourself?
Wham alum.
It's tough because I forget about it early in the day on Saturday, and I start drinking, and then it's like, do I want to ride 30 miles at midnight? And I tried that last year, and the last 5 miles were awful.
32.
Yeah.
How you doing,
It's
man?
advertised at 25, and it's 32. Like that's.
I don't know what advertisement you're reading.
a 7 mile surprise.
You know what?
We
I'll
fool
say-
people every year. We want them to suck in.
It always starts about 27, and by the time the mayor gets done with the route, it ends up a little heavy.
I think we're good now. I like this route.
It's
We
a good
got
one.
we got it through my neighborhood. So Kevin and I are doing it this year, Richard. And I had one little kick where you go like in front of my house on the route, right? And Kevin and I turn a corner and we start heading back to the main route. And I go, that was totally an unnecessary detour. It was totally.
And that's how you get to 32 miles.
That's right. Yeah, it was totally
Very
unnecessary. But the one down in Highlands unnecessary, but awesome, right?
It was good.
The one where you kick out, you go through Wicker Park, but you go over towards the post office.
Yeah, towards Frog Hollow, and then underneath.
You go over Frog Hollow, and then you come around on Lincoln, and you go through.
You basically don't go down Kennedy to
But
Lincoln.
that's a really cool little detour. That's added since the original Wham route.
That's how you get to 32 miles
Well, I mean,
on a 27-mile ride.
I like the route because I like to go back in the daytime later on and try the different trails and see parts of the region. So
That's the cool thing about Wham is actually it changed my regular workout routes. My workout route is the Wham route in a lot of ways now. Like the way through that Wham goes through Munster. I forgot, you know what I'm talking, Fairway, and then it clicks down and it goes through
then
Broadmoor.
it goes on Broadmoor. Mm-hmm.
Right, you go by the Target. That's my route through Munster now on my workout routes. It's
Broadmoor to
because of Wham.
Monon North. Yeah.
Right, that's my workout route now. And that started with Wham.
my regular route in Hammond now is to drive over to 18th Street, have a drink.
Take a stop.
I want to
Pit
work out with
stop.
you
But
more
no,
often.
but then I go north to Wolf Lake, circle around. I think it's like a 15
Do you
mile.
stop by 18th Street again
On the way back.
On the way back, yeah.
Have another drink.
At this point, it's not about working out. In 2020, it's about maintenance. So it's like
You look good, man.
cigar, drink, bike ride.
That
Really?
sounds like a good plan
You
for
can
2020.
Smoke the cigar while you're riding a bike.
I have
You
a
can kill two
selfie
birds.
with a beer, a cigar, and a cheeseburger on my bike.
I think it's illegal.
downtown Fort Wayne.
Is that illegal?
See?
Maybe.
No.
I mean, I was definitely in the middle of the street though.
Who are
so-
you riding with no hands?
Yeah,
Okay, eating a burger. Where's the cigar?
in my
And
hand with the beer.
the cigar, beer in one hand, burger in the other.
Yep.
And riding with no hands.
Yes.
I like it.
You got to be careful, Rich.
That is, you get that as a profile pic?
No, it's somewhere out there.
That should be a profile
We
pic.
should throw that one.
That
up.
was the one we should have advertised the
Should
show.
use that
Like
up.
they would have seen it and said, "This is a guy I want to hear."
You know, I have scroll through my Instagram and there's a lot.
How do we
Really?
get your
You-
Instagram?
you might- you
is it
might
also
see.
Lev in the City? What's your Instagram?
Lev in the City is one, but then Rick Lev is the other. They're
Rick
both open
Lev.
in public.
You
There you
go.
go. Open.
Yeah.
Follow.
One is like work stuff.
You got, like, the
city
blue check
stuff,
mark?
Speaking
You're
of
like
following,
infographics.
why don't we get rolling here today? Speaking of following,
Does
please
Does Richard have the blue check mark though? Seems like a guy like Richard should
don't.
have the blue check
No,
mark.
I am
He
way
should.
away from
We're
that.
waiting.
I know
You should.
way more important people who don't have it, and so I'm waiting
I don't
for my
have one.
turn. Yeah.
No.
I'm just a regular Joe.
Just a regular mayor
You know
with
what? I
thousands of
screwed up. I
followers.
screwed up in the campaign. I could have got my blue check mark, and we had a stupid campaign Twitter, and they gave the blue check mark to the stupid campaign Twitter.
I don't know, John. I thought it
choice.
wasn't that stupid of a Twitter.
Stupid campaign Twitter. Then you got a guy like Harper that never has a stupid campaign Twitter, and then he gets the blue check mark on his personal.
You'll get it someday.
No, I won't. I'm sitting here like a
Too late now.
schmuck.
Before we get started with Richard, I want to remind everybody, like and follow our podcast on Facebook. Left of Center Podcast is where you find us. On Twitter, at LOC Pod, or on YouTube, Left of Center Podcast. Like it and share it. And don't forget, you can subscribe to Left of Center Show on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe. We're into the heavy triple digits now in subscriptions, so that's really good news.
Heavy triple digits.
That's really good news. So thank you, everyone, for subscribing.
Like 111.
You can listen to us at any time you want, including this show with Richard Leverett. We're very happy to have you.
I listen to Apple now. Like, that's what I'm doing.
Well, it's great. You subscribe. It tells you there's a new episode. It gives you a notification. And you're like, oh, I'll listen to that
I
now.
keep getting geeked out by it.
Does this one have a title? Everyone else got good titles.
John? Yeah, we got a title.
Getting Some Perspective.
Boom.
What?
How do you like that?
Well, I expected more, John.
How about Getting Some Perspective with Richard Leverett?
How about Getting Some Perspective with Lev in the City?
How about Getting Some question mark?
Oh, no.
That's what I'm talking about. That's how you get viewers,
That's
right?
viewers.
Getting Some Perspective. That's so cool. Getting Some,
sure.
.. right?
Yeah.
Getting Some with Richard.
And then put perspective. After
Right.
that.
With perspective.
With perspective.
All right, well...
yeah, John didn't put a lot of thought into it, did he, Rich?
don't blame him. Don't blame John.
He milled
Like,
it
I
in.
would expect
If
more
we want to start
creativity.
naming names.
At least we had some ideas.
I expect more creativity out of
The unpaid staff.
the unpaid staff like, doing volunteer work. I expect a lot more.
How about do some sponsors, Mayor, so we can get started with
All right.
Richard?
I love, John Vesmar's done a great job, though. Appreciate it, John.
But do better,
Other than
John.
today's
We have
title.
voicemail. We have
Today's title was
voicemail
horrible.
now.
Today's- We do?
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway. By the way, if you want to message our show, we do have we got 2 letters today.
We'll have mailbag in a little bit.
Lindsay's
That'll
going to
come
be
in.
ready for mailbag today. We got 2 good
Leave
letters.
a voicemail. We'll make it into a mailbag.
Yeah, or message us through Facebook, through Twitter. We could do mailbag that way. But anyway, thank you to our sponsors. We'll start with Realtor Jeffrey Cardwell. Jeff Cardwell with Macaulay Real Estate proudly serves all of Northwest Indiana for all of your real estate needs. With over 11 years of experience and a 9-year veteran of the United States Navy, Jeff Cardwell is a realtor you can trust. Call today and find out why Jeff is the home of 5-star service. Call 219-743-5157. That's 219-743-5157 or visit gcardwell.macaulay.com.
Region News Source, featuring Northwest Indiana region-specific breaking news and stories, focusing only on facts regarding our lives in Northwest Indiana. Paul Goddard and his team are proud to declare that we have no bias or political opinions, just facts and truth straight from reliable and trusted sources. This is a service provided to the region for free. Check out their website at regionnewssource.org or follow them on Facebook at Region News Source.
Attorney Alfredo Estrada at Burke, Costanza, and Carberry. Locations in Maryville and Chicago. Alfredo is one of the most experienced lawyers in the area of immigration and civil litigation. Call Alfredo at 219-769-1313. That's 219-769-1313. Adelante con Alfredo.
See.
Muy bien.
Misprint Printing. Munster and Hammond. Check out Eye Candy, Rick Balzenberger, and his team
Oh, he's eye candy now. He is eye candy.
are there for absolutely all of their printing needs. He's responsive, fast, and good. Banners and signs all sizes, from wrapping cars to business cards. No job is too big or small for Rick. Call Rick or Teresa at 219-836-2517. That's Misprint Printing.
Want to talk about something before we get to Richard? Sure. Like life in the day in the life of Mayor Tom. So we have a story. This goes back to Alfredo Estrada. There was an announcement recently that the Legal Aid Clinic was taking immigration cases, which we made a partnership with Alfredo Estrada. His firm and him are going to represent the Legal Aid Clinic with these types of cases.
Burke, Costanza, and Carberry.
With DACA cases, with immigration cases, as long as they meet the prerequisites of going to Hammond Legal Aid Clinic, which is income guidelines. You have to be a Hammond resident, et cetera, right? So we do a press release, and this is shortly after Kevin and I start the new show, okay? On show number 1, I flippantly took the newspapers and flipped them on the ground, being funny, right? Mm-hmm. Little did I know.
Well, being funny to what we thought you
I
were
thought it
being
was funny. By the way, Paul Goddard totally egged me into that. Region News Source, thank you, Paul.
Also called the blame game.
Paul Goddard is like, hey, what are those things doing on the desk? They don't sponsor. And I was like, yeah, and I was being funny. Flipped them, right? So I set into motion a bad will from the Times. They're pissed about this, right? So right around this time, we dropped.
You're a subscriber, though. At least.
I'm a long-time subscriber. I read it every day.
To the Times. I'm a subscriber and used to be a paper boy of the Times. So come on.
Yeah, I used to deliver the papers to the paper boys, but nonetheless. So we dropped the press release that I thought was a good story about DACA-related services being carried by the Hammond Legal Aid Clinic, and they won't run it. And we're like, this is a good story. Like, you're
Sure,
not
it's
running.
a feel-good story.
So, like, we
News
start working it.
services.
Like, what's going on? How come you guys aren't running? This is a good story. And you could just tell there was no interest whatsoever. So, finally, this weekend, they ran it. It was wonderful. We were so happy. There was a section, like, N. Like, that nobody likes the part that
The one
you
with all
throw
the
away.
ads?
And it was, like, not even N1, because that would have been too good for this story. There was, like, 12 pages in N, and it was on the N12 at the bottom of the paper.
No
like,
love.
like bottom of the bottom section. It was like, okay, I guess this isn't that big of a story. It's like there was gardening stories.
Why
that
we're
were
not
more,
in the newspaper business. They decide what's important.
I was pretty shocked. I mean, when you think that Hammond's population, 35% of our population is Hispanic, and a lot of these people have immigration-related issues, and the Hammond Legal Aid Clinic's picking them up. I thought
And
that
it's
was
a
a
new
good
service.
story.
It's a good story.
I thought it was
and
a great story.
Alfredo is
Alfredo is a great attorney who's
been in the Times a bunch for his immigration work.
and like obviously that doesn't. I'm really sorry I threw the newspaper. I just like will
wanna go on the
never
record?
ever. By the way, your freaking newspaper boys deliver it every day and they
That's
throw
right.
it right. I didn't do much different than that, but I apologize.
You were on a podcast.
Obviously, I pissed off somebody, and we're on N14 now.
You're apologizing for that.
I am, but like I don't understand
what we
it.
get.
Like I thought it was a good story. I guess it wasn't. Anyway, how you doing, Richard?
I'm doing all right.
Thank you, by the
All
way,
right.
for coming into our show.
Welcome to Left to Center Pod.
Thanks
It's not
for the,
very often we get an
thanks for
executive of your stature, somebody that's knowledgeable on politics in the region, and we're gonna have a good conversation today.
I appreciate that thought. It's been 6 shows though, so
Yeah,
We got you.
yeah.
6 shows.
You're in our
You-
top
you-
6.
You waited.
You were in our top 6.
Well, sometimes
We wanted to
gotta
put you on.
save.
It would have been embarrassing if we put you on first because everybody knows we love you. So we decided to wait a couple.
Got it.
We didn't want anybody to
We
think
wanted
that-
you to enjoy your summer a little bit more before you had to come on with
Yeah.
us.
It's been
We got the kinks
an
out.
enjoyable summer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us
2020.
about Richard. Tell us about growing up and going to Westside High School.
We should get a couch in here and just let people just start talking.
Yeah,
Here?
It's therapy.
Therapy.
Yeah. So born and raised in Gary, and I went to Westside.
Cougars.
But I grew up on the east side of town though. Westside had our gifted and talented program back then, and so grew up on the east side, Marshalltown. Right, it's right on the border
Yeah.
of
Marshalltown.
Yeah, it's.
Lake
I drove
Station,
through
yeah.
Marshalltown.
Almost
the
like
other day.
like Cal Township,
It's right, just like north of Lake Station, right?
It's just west
North
of Lake
and
Station.
west-
Yeah,
north-
north
yeah.
and west Lake
So you had to
Station.
go all the way from east side to west side for school
Yeah,
every
it means,
day.
like this time I'd be on the bus at 7:00 in the morning.
Really?
They had a bus from west side going all the way from east side of town.
Yeah, you had to get around. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary
Yeah.
Transit or a school
Yeah.
bus?
Oh, transit. You would take the regular
No,
bus.
no. School bus.
School bus.
Yeah, school buses went. I mean, imagine being in Miller. They got on the bus at 6:30 in the morning.
Wow.
To get over. Had friends like that until we got cars and carpooled and stuff like that.
And west side's the last high school standing.
Last non-charter high school. Yeah.
Last
From-
non-charter.
from the originals. Yeah.
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 That's something. And when you went to high school, probably had what, 4 high schools still?
Oh no. We had
Lou Wallace.
No, everything was open.
Everything.
Everything was open. Yeah. Everything was still open when I was in high school. We still had. I graduated high school in 1999. We probably had 27,000 students in the city still,
Isn't that crazy?
I'm 12 years old.
and about 125,000 residents, I think, in Gary.
Wow.
125,000.
Yeah, the history's right.
What do you think the population is
99.
right now?
Oh, I think hovering around 80.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll find out.
around
in a
80.
couple,
We'll
right?
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
If everybody gets counted, don't forget to do your census.
I tell you what, man, the census this year is bullshit.
Yes.
It is. Like, they're doing a horrible job with it. Like, and then I read in the newspaper today that they're wrapping up field operations.
Yeah,
They literally,
quicker than usual.
They do not want to count Gary. They
I
do
think
not
it's-
want
I
to
think
count Hammond. They
ending
don't want
early.
to.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, trying to end things earlier.
I know.
Of course,
it's
they just
ridiculous.
announced it. It was
It's
going to be
like-
October. Now it's going to be September
The census
30th.
is in the United States Constitution, made in the 1700s, and like Donald Trump, the man in orange wants to cut it off so that the Democratic cities don't get
Sure.
counted. It's ridiculous.
So they don't get money.
It's ridiculous.
We're going to see
Makes
what
me sick
happens.
to my
Yeah,
stomach.
I would probably say it's probably the first time we had a president who probably didn't read the Constitution, hasn't read it.
I think you could be
Incapable.
Yeah.
absolutely
I
correct.
mean, if I had to bet, well, yeah, I would.
Oh, I don't think he's read it.
No.
I agree.
No, for sure.
No.
Oh, I agree.
But he knows all about it.
Yeah.
He knows
He-
everything in it.
Right.
Just ask him.
He's a genius.
He's a genius.
Yeah. So, Richard, you were a good student then?
Yeah, I was a good student.
Like, real good? Like, A's, B's, honor roll?
Yeah,
Straight
Richard
A's?
didn't- Richard didn't
all
get
that.
any B's.
Very little B's.
Really?
That's
great, man.
But yeah, and, it was interesting time. Both my parents from the South, and they ended up moving here with their families at different times. My dad from Georgia, my mom from Mississippi. She was the oldest in her family, and neither went to college. And so we had a pretty tragic house fire in '93 when I was in 7th grade. And pretty much from that point, I was like, we need to rebuild, pull the family together. I am going to make sure that college is taken care of and paid for. I'll handle that part, and we just stick here.
Oh, so through your hard work.
Yeah. So make sure. Yeah.
So like tragic house fire.
Yeah, just house burned down.
Okay.
Wow.
No loss of life.
No loss of life.
Thank
No.
goodness. Okay.
Just
House burned down, like your house was
which
gone.
is tragic,
One
obviously.
morning it was
Yeah,
there.
It was good. I mean, the frame
All
was
of
still
it-
there.
all of
We
it-
rebuilt inside, but yeah.
How long were you out of the house for?
About 2.5 years. We lived with my grandfather and
It took
uncle.
2.5 years to build your house.
Yeah.
Did you build in the same location?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just rebuilt and gutted. I mean,
Oh my
inside of
goodness,
it.
what
This
took
was,
so long?
Time, money, family stuff.
Oh my
taking care of other
goodness.
people.
That's
so,
horrible. That's
So
gotta
from
be
7th to
hard.
9th, you're displaced from your regular house.
Yeah, but I'm right around the corner. Still the same neighborhood, same friends, cousins, everything. There's a bunch of us in the same house.
There
I
you
think
go.
at one point in time, it's probably like 9 of us in and out the house.
How many? You have brothers, sisters?
I have one younger sister,
Yeah.
but I have 3 cousins who are like my very close siblings, and a bunch of other cousins too.
Is
They're
that
all
from
very close?
living with them for a couple of years, or
Oh yeah, we were always together too. Their mom was.
They still in the
babysitting us
region,
from time. Indianapolis and Texas.
yeah?
Yeah. So I have a really large family. I'm really close to most of my cousins.
Okay,
Both
so
sides of the family.
now it's not only are you a great student in high school, you're also a great athlete, right?
I would think so.
But like, does that start right
in
away?
retrospect now, I would say good.
Mm-hmm.
I had some D1 interest my junior year, but I had a bad injury my senior year, and so
Were you big, or because you're a big
yeah,
guy
I was, I
now.
was I was this size. I mean,
Yeah.
I was
So you hit that size early
6'1", probably 160, 175
when you were what?
in high school. Like
I mean,
16,
like-
16.
Really?
Yeah.
I was
That's good
140
size.
when I
Yeah.
graduated.
What were you wrestling?
I wrestled when I wrestled 140s my senior year,
Wow.
but I wrestled 107 my freshman year. I was small.
I'll probably say. I mean, I was like 5'11", 190 as a 8th grader.
Dang.
And so
That's a
I put
big
like on the
eighth
line
grader.
in eighth
Cow.
grade. I put in
I
the
was
line.
like, so in other words, Richard versus Tom in freshman year, 107 versus 190.
Yeah, I caught him
You got
eventually.
yeah, we both did.
No, the funny thing about my high school football story is that my freshman year, I think one of the seniors got injured or something happened, and I started at tight end in the beginning of the season, and I caught the first pass of the season, and I
You're gonna be
never,
tight end.
I never caught another pass again.
That was it. College, everything.
I never caught another pass. I mean, I caught interceptions. Had
You must have
had a
did
few of
something-
those.
You must have done something wrong.
Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
But that's what it was. No, it just didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, never played offense. Never got the ball again.
That's
What,
funny.
what I know, we all know you went to Butler and you're a proud Bulldog because I've seen many photos of you with Bulldog stuff on. Tell us about that decision.
It was a variety of things. It was closer.
Well,
At
you
the
have
time-
family down there too, right?
And I had a family in Indy as well, and I wanted to be close to my sister was starting high school. Mom and dad are still around, and so I think a 2-hour drive was kind of like a good enough distance. And I got a ton of scholarship offers from them, and I won a scholarship from that Senator Lugar had set up, and that was like extra money too. And so I was like, staying in state really made a difference. I didn't want to go to a big school, and so Butler sort of made sense. Because I had a better chance of playing football at Butler than I did at Notre Dame.
What's
I thought
Butler?
Notre
What do
Dame-
they play?
You got offers
It's
from Notre Dame. too?
D1,
it's
D1
a-
double A non. Well, it's D1. What
It's
is it now?
football championships.
Subdivision.
FCS, not
Yes,
FB, or it's FBS, not FCS. I forget which.
When I was there, it was 1 AA non-scholarship with like Georgetown, Hofstra. schools
yeah,
like that.
Ivies, all that.
Right.
Yep.
Hey, you and Eddie Melton about the same age,
Same exact age.
so you guys played
He's-
football. Was he
against-
on your team?
No, we played against each other. From
Right.
7th grade
He was
throughout
in
high school.
Was he on Roosevelt?
No, he played
Horace
middle school. He was at was it Beckman or Edison? Can't remember what middle school he went to. But we played against each other in middle school, and then against each other in high school.
What
He was
position did Eddie? What,
he was quarterback.
He was quarterback.
Yeah.
He's quarterback.
I did not know
He was
that.
good too, right? He
Yeah,
was play.
he was very good.
Any interceptions against Eddie?
Yes.
Nice.
Someone
Eddie's
has
like,
a
There you
wait
go,
a minute.
Eddie. In your face, Eddie.
But-
Eddie's like, I'm
He's
coming
like
on.
a couple,
I got to get on the
you know,
show now.
This was
there you go, Eddie. There you
No,
go,
I mean,
Senator
no,
Eddie.
he was
throwing the picks.
He was one of the best quarterbacks we had around, for sure. Then, but we always joked that if we could combine, like, and work together, like we were on the same team back then, like a bunch of us, because some of these best friends, we went to middle school together. It was like a hodgepodge of players. We just didn't have one complete team, but we had amazing players my time.
So like if you were my tight end, that's right.
Yeah.
That's Hammond too. We
Right
spread
now.
all of our good athletes out amongst multiple schools, and we always in Hammond we say the same thing. It's like if all these
We're gonna
kids
see
were on
what
one
happens.
team together,
We're
I
gonna
know
see what happens.
Hammond Central is going to
But
be
the line now is that Eddie and I came together, worked together to get him, in the Senate, and it's been
good.
Did he say if you were my tight end, I'd be throwing to you more than once during high school?
No, it wasn't that. No, my quarterback was my best friend.
Who was it?
I just didn't play. I just didn't play offense anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Eddie's he's done a great job too.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So you get through Butler.
Just get through Butler.
What was your degree in?
Actuarial science, and minor in econ. But
Nice.
my mom worked at an insurance company in
Numbers guy.
Chicago. She rode the train every day from like 68 until 98.
Really?
So
So you worked
a lot
at
of
University of
stuff
Chicago?
No, she worked at downtown at the Big Red Building, CNA building.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
And so people I met there, they were all insurance execs. They were actuaries. I was like, I want to be an actuary.
No kidding.
When I was like 9 years old, people were like, what the hell is that?
Watch
And-
People still say that.
Yeah. I was just scratching my head right now.
Actuary.
So yeah,
You work with
I
dead
was-
people, right?
Yeah, see, people always
Life
always
insurance.
confuse it. It's actually for some people more morbid than mortuary science. So actuarial science is
Figuring it out.
Figuring it out. They're figuring out when.
Wow.
Like, okay, this
Yeah.
is how much you charge because this is
Life
how you're going to make
expectancy.
some money.
Yeah, life expectancy, life contingency.
Insurance companies love actuaries.
Yeah.
So college football career. What
College
was your-
football career ended with a concussion and a failed actuarial exam. And I was like, I'm here for, math department, actuarial department is paying for my scholarship here. I want to focus on this.
Good for you.
I did that. I wish I hadn't though. It
Was
a
it-
big regret of mine.
Yeah. What's that? That you didn't follow up your football
Yeah,
career?
because I actually grew more after that. My shoulders didn't
Dude,
come
I
in too
would
much
not
later.
mess with you.
Yeah.
I'd run. If you were chasing me, I'd run fast. And I'm not that fast of a runner.
Well, one of my college coaches is now he just came back as the athletic director at Westside, and he saw me a couple weeks ago, and he said, "Man, look at you! If you were that size, we could have had you at linebacker. We'd have done a lot more." I was like, my shoulders just didn't come in. I was like a big lanky kid, and I was strong, but I just didn't have the frame right. The frame
you
didn't
got a
come in.
good
I was
frame
like
now,
22
dude.
or something.
Yeah.
So
You coach a football team now, right?
yeah,
old?
I'm helping 10U, helping
Nice.
a friend of mine, Algebra Boswell, coach the.
What's the name of them?
Gary
Where they
Steelers.
play?
Great
Yeah.
guy, man.
Gary Steelers.
Gary
Pop
The
Warner
Gary
Steelers.
Steelers. I ran into them back in the day when my kid played. For
Where do
the
they play
Viper.
out of?
Play out on the Westside this year.
Really?
Nice.
Yes, that's where. That's where
I've seen-
my son's team, Thomas's team, played them. He was with the Patriots. We played at Westside. Yeah,
Gary
good program.
Steelers.
How's your
That's
team?
awesome.
Yeah, we had one game under the belt.
How many
1-0?
kids play?
We have about 18 kids, I think.
And you get them from all over the city?
Any kids come from anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Kids
you're
come from
coaching?
anywhere.
That's great.
Yep.
And you and Alger's a good guy, right? As well.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
guys
Oh, yeah.
Gary
No,
Steelers.
I think if you had a 9 to 10-year-old kid and you could get him in front of Alger as a coach, I mean, it's a great.
Was he a good ball player too?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Give you guys a plug. How do you get a hold of Gary Steelers? What's the best way?
Well, Pop Warner is locked up now, but it's Facebook page, Gary Steelers Pop Warner. You can reach out there. I think it's on the Facebook page. That's the way. Stay in contact because I think the program's going to keep going. Had a good numbers last year. There'll probably be some spring ball, something happening too. There's a group of coaches and families sort of committed to
Pop Warner football
Pop
and
Warner
to making
football,
sure it
yeah.
works in Gary because I'm sure Gary's got we know they have a great football legacy in the city.
Well,
So
we got two Pop Warner alums in the NFL now. It's great kids. Came out of Westside in 2014. State track champions. Great football players. John Bay Johnson and Lonnie Johnson. Lonnie's with the Texans right now. He's second round pick. Had a great season last year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's going to be.
Get him back. Get him back in town.
Oh yeah, no, they come back.
Do they?
Definitely
That's
back.
great.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hey, so you leave Butler and you get accepted to law school.
No. I worked as a consultant for 5 years before I went to law school.
What were you doing?
So I was at a company called Towers Perrins, a bunch of different things now. But we design pension plans for Fortune 1000 companies.
No way. So you were using your undergrad.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I was on the board of the International Association of Black Actuaries, very heavily in the career. But then I think when President Obama ran for state senate at the time, I started thinking about it. Then he ran for the U.S. Senate.
So let me think. That
And
had
he's
to be,
teaching at
2000?
USC.
That has to be 2004.
2004 and
Yep.
2006.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And 'cause he ran
2006.
Speaks of the convention in 04, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he was a state senator then.
Yep.
And then,
And
when he
then
was
2006 he ran for senate.
Yep. So his
That's right. Gosh.
celebration
Isn't that
campaign
crazy?
stuff was at the Hyatt across the street. I lived.
So he was a state senator in like 2000.
And he's president in 2008.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is such an incredible
How it
league.
rolls. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you got the
So
right-
kind of what you're saying is you got inspired by Obama to kind of think about changing careers.
It was two things. Yeah, inspired by Obama, and then there was a lot of stuff happening in the region at the time. And I'm living in Chicago, and I'm still paying attention to the region and listening to WLTH and a bunch of other things and just trying to track what's happening. And, you know, I wanted to get involved. And I think the job I had, we designed pension plans. We were, you know, pension, health, and welfare plans. And I'm understanding how unions work, how the country's going. And I see at the time, defined benefit plans are like the pensions with companies. And we've grown up around here, you know those. And they started to shrink and go away. And I'm thinking, this is a problem. It's income security. And all of my colleagues at the time were saying, oh, we'd be better off. We privatize Social Security. We put everything in the market. And I was like, that's not how this works. You know, I'm like, what I know, we all study the same finance. We all study actuarial science. You need a risk-free return, right? You need something
know
guaranteed.
It's going to be there.
You know it's going to be there. And that incentivizes other investment later. And I'm thinking, I'm studying the same economics you all study. And that's when I first realized how politics play into like large decision-making and corporate rules and what we're trying to push. Like it's one message. Even though we know it doesn't work, this is better for this other individual, right?
Interesting, yeah.
This
That's really interesting because you wouldn't think it.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. We know you look at a risk model, and you know that if you want a higher return, your risk-free, you don't touch the risk-free piece and move that over. You just take more risk on your other investments, right? I don't have to eliminate my Social Security to make more money in the market. I just take riskier investments,
Right.
and I know what my Social Security will be, right? I don't need that money to make a higher return. I just take more risk.
So you're in this. You're in this.
So
this is your job, and then why do you make the decision to leave?
It was just right timing. Right timing. Part of being an actuary is waiting in line a lot. It was very, very. I mean, I made a lot of great money coming right out of school and great career path, and I love the company I work with. Very secure, but that comes with some trade-offs. So I wanted to just roll the dice and do something big.
So, I mean, you ultimately end up at the University of Chicago Law School, right?
Right.
By the way, like Kevin and I had this discussion yesterday. I know the University of Chicago is top 2 or top 3 in the country, right?
Usually 3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4.
Yep.
So you got Harvard, Yale, Stanford, University of Chicago, and that top 4 is usually interchanges, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because I applied there.
Pretty amazing. Pretty awesome that you
I
got
applied there, yeah.
That says something about you.
I applied.
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything. I got rejected quickly.
I could only get into undergrad at UFC, man. No law school for me there. But that's impressive. I mean, it really is unbelievable.
You were Ivy League undergrad.
Yeah.
But I had some choices undergrad.
Yeah.
I did not. I was Purdue Northwest.
Yeah, I think the problem was that, Chicago had a lot of white Ivy Leaguers applying back then. So
I bet.
It was you just picked the wrong one.
Is that right?
You could have been somewhere.
Yeah.
So you were an older law student, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
how old were you?
UFC, I was right in the middle.
Yeah, but like when I went to Notre Dame for law school, and because I did 6 years in the Navy, so when I get there, I'm probably 5-6 years older.
Yeah, I started at 26.
Getcha.
Yeah.
I was about to say. I was
going to say you're about the same age.
Yeah, I graduated at 30.
And the crazy thing for me, because I was heavy math, I hated writing, and I didn't realize that going with a bunch of like very, very talented writers, it would be difficult. Like.
So like you're surrounded by the best.
Everything
students.
I did was the longest thing I've ever written. Every exam, it was like write a paper, longest paper I've ever written, 10 pages.
Yeah.
Okay, longest thing.
But like you're surrounded
every
by
assignment
like just total talent.
Amazing folks.
That's the thing. When I went to Notre Dame, I was like,
minds.
what the hell am I doing?
When you go to
here?
places like, I remember going into Penn in freshman year, I'm like, whoa,
Dude,
I am surrounded by people that are so much smarter than me.
Yeah, their dads are CEOs and like they aced,
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Richard. Neither of my parents went to college, and I'm going to these places,
By the way,
right?
I'm the same way. I was the first McDermott.
Yep.
Went to college.
And so you go, well, then we all have a similar experience. You
That
go
is
into a
similar
place and you're
experience.
like, wait a minute, there's a lot of smart people here.
When I went to Notre Dame, I was so intimidated. The first person I met was my wife, Marissa. Okay. Second person
Thank
I met,
goodness.
aced the LSAT. Third person I met, his dad owned a gold mine in Colorado. Like, these are the people I was going to school with. And by the way, I went to school with NFL players. I went to school with Hollywood actors. Like, I was like, what the hell am I doing
It makes
here?
you take some
I'm the
real
guy they they brought me
reflection.
in to get an F. Like, somebody has to get an F in this class. So they brought me in like, this is the guy that's going to be, holding the bottom of the curve.
So obviously you do fine at UFC. You make it through. You are a University of Chicago graduate.
Yeah.
And
I made
you
it
head
fine.
back home.
The market was awful, though. Yeah, it was
But
terrible environment.
Richard, like, as a student, were you constantly stressed, or was law school easy for you?
The way I described it back then was that I was laughing when other people were crying and they were laughing. It was just a random hodgepodge of things.
Did you work hard, or like there's some people that go through law school?
I did, but I also, because I had a career before, and I really wanted to just spend some time. Like it's this. you'll see things like the life of the mind and experimenting things, and I just love that part of it. So I didn't. So some class I didn't take criminal procedure. There's a lot of stuff that most lawyers. I want to be a lawyer. You take and you go to law school for these things, and I didn't. I spent more time in law and economics and
Gotcha. Stuff you were interested in.
Public choice and
Mary, you just brought something up that I think is a good point for folks to understand is that both you and Richard had a nice background going into law school. In other words, like, Richard had a career. You were in the Navy.
I was on a tube with 150
and so
dudes.
but I think that gives you some confidence. I can tell you, like,
oh, no.
when you go like I did from college right to law school, you're still like, oh my God, I need to get a job. You guys knew you could get a job. You had success,
right.
and you had that going in. So that's something I think that's probably helpful.
I worked for NIPSCO before I went there too. I left NIPSCO, like one of the few people that actually voluntarily leaves NIPSCO. I left NIPSCO to go to law school, and I thought I was going
there
back.
Goes that NIPSCO pension that
I honestly, God, when I left for law school, I was under the impression like NIPSCO wanted me back, and I wanted to be back, and I pictured myself one day like running NIPSCO. So I go off to law school.
Still do that.
I was making like $45,000 a year when I left. Okay, and I go to law school my first year, and I come back for a summer job. Right? They offered me a job at $10 an hour, and I started doing the math. I'm like, I was making more before I left. Like you, like give me
Thanks
a pay
for bringing
cut,
me back,
right? And then I never went back.
So where do you go after you pass the bar?
a lot of different things are moving. So I had a fellowship in Chicago working for the Civic Consulting Alliance, which is a group. I think Mayor Daley was heavily involved in that, but it was industry-wide sort of consulting groups and other big companies come together to sort of deploy nonprofit resources in the city of Chicago. So you're managing a team from Bain or McKinsey Consultants to impact things in Chicago, like the bus bunching or the after-school programs or modeling things. And it's doing projects that really matter, but not people can't necessarily pay for.
You ultimately
So
come
solving
back
problems.
home and work for the administration.
And so, yeah,
how did you know Mayor Karen before coming to work for her?
I worked in her 2007 campaign because I had just moved back to Gary at the time before I started law school.
And that's her first campaign, right?
The second campaign.
03.
campaign.
So I didn't.
She ran 03.
She ran in 03 also.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
ran against Scott King then.
Yeah, a lot of folks.
That's right.
back then
And
in
then
03.
she lost, obviously, to Scott King in 03, and then ran one more time in 07.
07.
And was successful.
No, 07
No.
lost that one.
Lost that one too.
Yeah.
Dang.
And
She
so
was, okay.
when I started law school, I was like, I'm probably not coming back. I'm
I
not
forgot.
involved in the
I know where
area.
you're going with this.
And so when 11 rolls around, met a bunch of folks. I'm networking as an attorney in the region, but even though I'm still working in Chicago, and I had a show in WLTH. And as it turns around, people are running, election season's popping up, and I volunteer to work on some campaigns, and be involved in. So yeah, I was involved with Karen then.
Did you know Karen before jumping on her campaign?
Yeah,
or?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just knew her
Because
from the community.
she's 10 years older than you for sure, right? At least, right?
I won't say, but it's
Yeah, I mean,
more than
you
that.
didn't
Yeah.
go to school with.
No,
together.
no,
That's
no,
where I
no,
was
no.
going. I'm not trying to.
No,
pin
no.
down
Yeah, I mean, I knew
with-
Karen when she was city judge, right? I mean, she was city
Yeah.
judge.
Yeah,
she was
true.
Attorney General.
Right,
so.
exactly. So,
Well,
It may have been when we first met. I had probably when I first met her, city judge. Yeah.
so
Nice.
we're gonna take a break right now,
Yep.
Kev, and then when we come back, we're gonna
Dive
probe
into
Richard
some-
about Karen Freeman's administration. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on today with the Black Lives Matter movement. Talk about some of that, if that's all right with you, Richard.
Cool.
All right, let's do
go.
some sponsors, Mayor.
All right, let's go. Bob's Plastering and Painting. Bob's Plastering and Painting provides professional, affordable, and reliable plastering and painting services with over 30 years of experience. We are ready to serve you and brighten up your home or office. We are licensed, bonded, and insured. Call today and schedule a free estimate at 219-616-6609. That's 219-616-6609. Check out before and after pictures at bobsplasteringandpainting.com.
Check out the Emerald Green Restaurant at Lost Marsh. It's a fine dining experience located at beautiful Lost Marsh Golf Course just off the Indiana Toll Road. Sit on the scenic patio overlooking the first tee with a beautiful, breathtaking view of Chicago, or dine in at the beautiful Frank Lloyd Wright-inspired clubhouse and bar. It's open year-round. It's open to the public. They have a banquet hall for all your catering needs. Go check them out at Emerald Green at lostmarsh.com. Emerald Green.
Jeremy Rivas for 2nd District Porter County Council. Jeremy Rivas is a county councilman in 2nd District, which encompasses Portage amongst areas around that. He's also the president of the International Union Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers. Also married to beautiful Nina Rivas, who's the clerk treasurer for the city of Portage. Does a great job over there. Portage is a great city. It's got 2 great elected officials living in it. It's got a lot of great elected officials living in it, but
Not just 2.
Jeremy and Nina are two of the best. So thank you for sponsoring our show.
The Del Rio Group, a new sponsor. Martin Del Rio is Northwest Indiana's Veterans Outreach Consultant and Wounded Warrior Advocate, helping veterans and their families navigate the challenges of military transition, resources, and homelessness. Get in contact with him by calling 219-256-0256. That's the Del Rio Group, helping veterans when they need it most.
Griziola's Concrete, voted number 1 in the region by the Times, just like Mayor Tom. By the way, Richard, did you know that I'm the best mayor in Northwest Indiana?
I saw that vote.
There goes the tape.
saw that.
Did you know that? I didn't know if you knew that. I was just pointing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my dad, if you're wondering. So
Don't believe that. You would vote for Abraham Lincoln, right?
that is my dad. Griziola has the best concrete and masonry contractors in the region and provides concrete and masonry services to the Whiting, Hammond, and East Chicago area. Griziola's Concrete, a well-known, experienced concrete and masonry small business, is fully licensed and bonded and insured, licensed to perform concrete and masonry work in the state of Indiana. Call them at 219-659-4127. That's 219-659-4127. Griziola Concrete is outstanding.
Thank you to all of our sponsors, and now it's time for a quick mailbag.
We got mailbag.
Mailbag.
Well, Lindsay's coming over. I want to do show and tell. This is was given to me recently by a good friend, Democrat, and I figured we're going to put this my father's controversy to rest by putting the Democrat face shield on him forever. So thank you very much. We'll do some mailbag. We got 2 letters, right, Linz?
Just 2.
All right. How do people get mailbag into us?
There are a variety of ways that you can contact us. You can send us a message on Left of Center Podcast on Facebook. You can call and leave a voicemail at 219-595-0792. Or you can contact me directly with the funny ones. That'll make my day a little bit better.
Like Mad Max?
So mailbag questions or
No, it's just random.
stuff,
like,
random stuff?
Yeah.
Fan mail.
Sometimes they're nice. Sometimes they're not nice. We'll see how they are today.
All right.
We read them all off, though, Richard.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, even the
This
bad
is not
ones.
Fox News. It all comes out here.
Please don't compare us to Fox News. All right. Ethel from Griffith says, as a regular attendee of St. Mary's, I was surprised that your curse counter was over 50 in the first 2 episodes. I know the 2 of you are good Catholic boys. I think you should both attend confession soon.
Oh, Ethel. Thank you, Ethel. By the way, like the cuss counter is at 1 right now.
Trending down.
I think it was Richard that did that too.
Right now,
Maybe.
right now it's sitting at 1, and last episode it was sitting at 1 too.
I know. In the episode before that, Matt Reardon. I don't know if you.
It was
yeah.
64.
The FCC actually called us and said we don't have jurisdiction over you, but we're worried about this show. So.
All right. And the second one, Tammy from Hobart says, love you guys. Love the new format. Always listen to you guys on WJOB, but now super happy I can download your show directly onto my iPhone from the Apple Podcast app. I'm a Kevin fan personally, Mayor Tom.
What the hell?
You're all right as well.
That's Jana, right? Jana from Hammond?
No, it's Tammy, but I agree with her. I'm a Kevin fan.
Oh, come on. That's my daughter, everybody. Thank you very much, Linz. She's a Kevin fan also.
Kind of reminds me of like, I liked Ringo and the Beatles, you know?
Yeah, Kevin is definitely our Ringo. He's my Ringo. I love that. What do you think, John?
I love it. Yeah.
Kevin
Anytime
Ringo?
you talk about the Beatles.
Yeah.
Right, there you go.
Vesmar is
Kevin
the-
Ringo.
Don't say that.
Kevin is Ringo. That's perfect.
It's like, I like Ringo. Like all those people are like, they're kind of weird.
What's your favorite Beatle, John?
Oh boy.
I can't say.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have
Founder
one.
of Beatles
You don't
Fest.
have a favorite? Or you just
No.
love them all equally?
I don't have a favorite.
But
I
you
love them
hate
all equally.
Ringo, though. Everybody agrees on that.
I love Ringo.
Really?
Thank you.
I think Ringo is one of the greatest drummers ever.
It's like
personally.
loving Kevin.
A lot of people say the opposite, but I think it
I'd
was
say
incredible.
the opposite. No, I like Ringo.
Hey,
but
John.
He's no.
Can
he's
we
no-
reassure people that Beatles Fest will be back next year?
Yeah, 2021. We
What
have to
number will it
celebrate.
be?
15 years.
15 years celebration in 2021. So it took a COVID break, but it'll be back.
But we'll have to celebrate, the 15-year and the 16-year. So it'll be like
Double celebration.
I was thinking about
doubly
doing
Beatles.
that. I was thinking
Similar-
about doing that with the fest. By
similar
the
to
way.
Fest, yeah.
I was thinking about maybe adding another band.
Make
or
it
two.
10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
Bring
old
back
Chicago.
August.
Everybody
Fest.
in the city's like, no.
We do have the important, the biggest act that I had in 2020 is re-signed. So I can't really
We
announce.
can't announce those
I
things.
can't
but
announce.
yes,
And-
Stop.
But I think people could do their own.
Let them do that.
Yeah, they
Let
could
them
do
do
that.
their own math.
I mean, when you're thinking
Now
about
they're on podcasts. We're national.
when you're thinking about your local canine, I have a canine. You know what I'm talking about.
There you
okay?
go.
I'm just going to
We'll
sort of
leave it
I'll
there.
just leave it out there.
We're
like
just
that.
going to leave it there.
Okay. So, do you mind if we jump into when you were working for Mayor Karen and her administration?
Sure.
So you take a job as chief of staff?
I take a job as my first job. I came in as like assistant city attorney.
It makes sense. I mean, when you think about it, you're both great.
department.
Got great education. Both went to great law schools.
And I worked on helping build the team. So I was on the transition team, helped lead the transition team.
And Karen like surrounds herself with a bunch of just great Gary educated.
And I think that was by design from the beginning in mid 2011. I mean, it was. She can't do it alone, understanding the problems with the city, and wanted to have like a nationwide search of people who wanted to come to Gary, including Gary residents coming back. And I think that was one thing I'm very proud of being a part of.
That was like a theme. The theme of hers originally. Come back to Gary. Right?
I mean, for years, even after I left, I still would wear my Team Gary pin from time to time because it was just an amazing thing to be a part of, and people coming back.
No, I agree. When Karen took over, I went to her inauguration ball. It was a great time. It was like a rejuvenation. There was so many people.
A lot of hope.
Yeah, a lot of hope. So
needed ideas. You needed a bunch of folks, and it was a blessing to be a part of that and see people come back from the city and whatever they had accomplished anywhere else and come back to sort of give back.
Well, and that was one of the things, Richard, I thought that was because she brought in a lot of people that were Gary but from outside that had been away for a while. It helped bring other money back in. Like the thing that she accomplished, I think one of her things that everybody would point to was she was able to bring in outside money to Gary from national money, like national Knight Foundation, Bloomberg. You go right down the line.
Yeah. Oh, and that
Magic
was
Johnson.
That was deliberate from the beginning.
That was she was mayor when that happened, right? With Magic Johnson.
Yeah, came back to the city. I worked at school districts and things. But I think there were smaller and less notarized things. I mean, we had probably around 50 different students from University of Chicago Public Policy School. Volunteering their time, and people think, oh, he's just students. I was like.
But that was also Mayor Daley, right?
Yeah,
right.
Working with Mayor Daley in the partnership and help there.
Redevelopment department.
We had a guy that was like deputy director of the Mexico City Airport, getting his master's degree there, and come here to do like free work for us. And people are like, oh, it's just a student. It's like, but you know what he did before? This is a different quality of.
Like, did you know I was an actuary before that I was in this law department?
Yeah, but that was my original project in the city, to come in and just look at the benefits. It was a lot. The city was way underwater and hurting families. And we figured that out right away. Figured out the benefits and some things going on there, and right-sized that. And I think they're still on a good path. But people don't realize how much that costs, and how many, as a major employer in the city, you're responsible for the health and the benefits for those folks. And that's a real big factor for the city.
That's the second largest cost in the city of Hammond. The largest cost is by far is the police department. Second largest cost is city insurance, which includes litigation, legacy costs. It includes, and then the third is the fire department. So that goes right into what you're saying.
Yeah.
So Karen was mayor now. She did 2 terms, and then she had a couple years also because she took over for Rudy, if I remember correctly. No, she did. I apologize. So she did 2 full terms then?
2 full terms.
And then now looking back on it, what do you think is the biggest, Karen was in office for 8 years. You were part of that team. You were a supporter of that team. When you weren't part of that team, if you had to look back on her 2 terms as mayor, what would you say the major change was? What did Karen accomplish? Obviously, she went on to the Urban League in Chicago, and she's doing very well there. But what would you say changed in Gary under her leadership?
I think making it. I think for the first time in sort of my adult lifetime, it was a destination for folks, and I think that talent came back. I mean,
like yourself,
like myself, but I was never really gone. I was always involved in some way. But my law school classmate William Godman is the first district person. I ain't never been to Gary outside of. I had a group of.
Oh, he's not originally from.
No.
William moved to Gary.
Some of my law school classmates were campaigning, canvassing for Obama. William heard about it, called me, took a tour of the neighborhood, bought a house the next weekend.
That's crazy.
But it's been 10 years.
Well,
now.
he's a big real estate guy also, right?
11 years now. He is now because of the opportunities he saw in Gary. He wasn't before.
I swear, I thought I just figured he grew up there.
And now he's first district.
He's the councilman of the Miller area, right?
Yep.
Right, which is your neighborhood, right?
Yeah. And came in and sold houses in the time when people
which is
said
a
it
jewel,
wasn't
by the way,
possible.
for people that are listening. That's the thing. When you think about Gary and the problems they have, and then you talk about Miller is literally one of the most desirable locations if you want to live close to the lake, and in Lake County for sure, right? I mean,
I'll say across the region. I mean, a lot of communities have homes along the lake, but they don't have the business district and potential that Gary has.
They do have a great business, and now they're about to get a train stop. Train
stop is there, but
right?
There should be some other investment happening, for sure. But you got some also like the 4th district where I grew up at. Ty Atkins came back, and she's
she's the councilwoman.
engineer, MBA, came back and councilwoman in the 4th district.
Right.
Yeah. I guess
So what you're saying is we got some new, fresh
people
leadership coming into
So the
Gary
people
with
you
good
brought back,
ideas.
the people that you and Karen's administration helped to bring back to Gary are now running the government. In a lot
Well,
of
not even
ways,
necessarily in administration. It's not just people who worked in administration, but people who were inspired by the administration. People who
That's a great-
saw us posting,
That's
saw
crazy,
us talking,
Richard.
saw
I
us
never-
about the ideas and wanted to come back and be involved.
And
never
that's a
realized
story
that.
you don't hear.
No, I consider myself pretty educated.
The
on
stories
Lake
you
County
hear about
politics.
Gary aren't they justify how things happen around the region, but they're not really true. No, most of the time you're not hearing or debating facts about Gary.
Now, okay, so now that we're having this conversation, it makes more sense to me because I know that with the current administration, Jerome Prince and his administration, and then you got the council, it seems like they're sort of at odds with each other. Do you think that goes back to what you're talking about? A lot of these people came in under Mayor Karen's administration, and maybe they look at the world differently than Mayor Prince does.
I wouldn't make it about Karen's administration. It's just about personalities, and I think it's a rough time. 2020 is a tough year for everyone. They're trying to figure out what direction to go in. And so you got competing interests and parties, but I think they'll work it out.
What do you think the biggest difference between Mayor Jerome's administration and Mayor Karen's administration is, at least to date? I mean, he's been in only 9 months, or 8 months.
Yeah, it seems longer.
Yeah.
But, I think, Mayor Prince is more of a, and I would say before the election, going back to my time in Gary growing up, I was probably close to Mayor Prince and Mayor Karen, probably the same. Knew them both equally long distance time. And going back to when Mayor Prince was a council person, and actually appointed me to the Commission on Social Status of Black Males in Gary, my first public civic involvement in the city. So I'll say that he is he's a military guy.
Yeah,
And so
Marine.
he leads from a certain way and expects a certain thing and runs a ship a different way. And I think that could rub people the wrong way. I think Karen's more of a big tent, all ideas kind of person, and being a lawyer and having that background, just wanted to bring more people to the table. Actually spread out decision making in a way. It's not always great, but for me, that was chief of staff for and trying to make decisions and get stuff done. Sometimes there's too many people in the room and too many.
Was it hard being
many
Karen's
ideas.
chief of staff?
No, I wouldn't call it hard.
Because I think I'm sort of tough on chief of staffs. I've had a few.
Yeah.
I've had five, right? I mean,
Phil's hung around a while.
No, Phil. I think Phil's the type of person that could hang with it because he's sort of like. Sometimes I'm pissed off. Sometimes and sometimes I do stuff that normal mayors wouldn't do.
Chief of staff's a hard job.
But
I mean, I don't care if you're a
do you
chief of
think it's
staff of
harder
the
with
city.
me? Honestly, you've seen.
Well, I think you're a tough boss. I think you demand a lot. I think you want success from your staff, and and it's just a job that either you transition in and out of. You go to something else. I mean, some of your chiefs of staff have gone because they've got other opportunities.
Yeah.
Look at Rick Kalinsky.
Look at
he's at NIPSCO.
look at Mark McLaughlin.
Right. Marty's
Mark-
now running the sanitary district.
right.
Mark's running the water department. So it's a transitioning job.
But like,
You embody everything the mayor embodies. You have to take in that, and I think that for us in Gary, it's a lot of things. So she's up at night, I'm up at night. She's texting, she's getting 15,000 text messages a day. I'm getting those. I have 3 phones and 2 walkie-talkies, and if there's a stabbing or anything that happened in the city, I know it immediately when it happened. And so,
we have the text message from every day, like the overdoses. I get the fires, I get the murders, I get all that, like constantly getting texts. And that's the thing about being mayor and chief of staff. You got no hours. Your
That's
hours
right.
are
24 hours.
24/7.
So
That's right.
I would never describe it as hard, but it probably was to people on the outside looking in, to family and people who are around.
I'm just saying, do you think
while
it's
they're
hard? Like, she was an easy person to work for, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, because you know where
She's
someone,
pleasant,
you know
she's
where
nice.
you knew where her heart lied every day
That's
with the
important.
people, and if there was a mistake to be made, it's made in the error of the people, and so you just know that she's doing too much for folks, and you know where that's going to be. And that's fine.
I have a prediction that I made during my congressional campaign was her daughter is going to be running for office shorter, in my opinion. And I know nothing, by the way. I just met Jordan through the process. She's a very impressive young lady, seems very interested in politics, and she does live in the city of Gary, right?
Yeah. I'm hoping, I'm knocking on wood, I'm hoping that this other venture she has,
The app?
politicking.
Yeah.
I'm an advisor for that, been connecting
Nice.
with the folks, and
Nice.
It's really
getting folks
successful.
on. Yeah, no, it's really
I downloaded
cool.
it. It's on my
and,
phone.
She is very impressive.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm
No,
hoping we go the media route and do some other things, and because I think we meet from a national standpoint to a local standpoint. Media is very important, and we have.
Well, let's transition over to some national issues, Mayor, if you're all right with that.
Well, can I ask real quick about the airport, Kev?
Yeah.
Like, I've noticed a lot more planes flying over my house. I'm in the flight path for the Gary Airport. And like last night, one went right over my house going to the Gary Airport. And I'm noticing more and more planes. Seems to me like the Gary Airport's getting more activity. Do you think that's a true statement? Or
I think there's been some announcements there, and another new hangar built for a business operating there. I would say it's probably more connected to national politics. It has and has not. So those are private jets flying over your house.
They are private jets, right?
It's working for some people.
Right.
Something's going on, right?
Yeah, something's going on right for some people.
But didn't Gary just recently announce like a deal with UPS or something like that?
I think there have been some announcements about shipping centers and Amazon stuff, but I haven't looked at what the airport.
Let me ask you this: there's talk that like Gary sold out the airport to the governor because he changed the way the board was made up. What's your take on that? Do you have an opinion on that?
Because the governor does run the board now, right?
Well, he changed the makeup.
But they didn't sell out. They didn't really get asked.
Of course, they didn't
hey, would the state take over our board, right? The state
you
just
never
sort of
know
does
why
that
they
stuff.
did the legislation, right? What was the reason for it? What was the reason behind it?
Well, I'll actually did the South Shore sell out when the plan was changed?
Sure,
there?
Exactly.
Right.
Because that's how the state does business.
Yeah,
The state of Indiana says if we're putting money into it, we're running it.
Yeah.
Right? And if we're going to put money into the Gary Airport, we're not going to rely on Gary local officials to run it. We're going to run it ourselves. That's how the state approaches business.
Look at the RDA.
Yeah, look at the RDA. Look at the South Shore. They just did the same thing. And then Gary Airport's no different. I guess that's a very true statement.
Yeah. So, just...
All right, let's hit it.
We argue in our bucket here in the region, but so most of the stuff happens downstate, and it's people who
we know that.
Yeah.
People who don't have neighbors making decisions about us.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. People that don't have neighbors.
That's right. That's right. We're a blue county and a red state,
and we have a lot of neighbors up here.
Yeah. Let's move forward, if you don't mind, to the national movement taking place. It started. Well, it didn't start with George Floyd, but that was
took on a new life for sure.
Took on a new life after what happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd, and then obviously we've been dealing with incident after incident over the last 6 months that have just put America on fire. And I was just wondering, like, your perspective, Richard. Like, I have so much respect for you. I've known you for a long time, and I wondered, like, obviously I'm Caucasian. I think I just wonder, like,
you think you are?
I know I'm Caucasian.
You are.
I do know I'm Caucasian. I'm very but I was just wondering, like,
I consider myself white.
I am very white, all the way down. So anyway, I was just wondering, Richard, if anything, like, have you ever been racially profiled? Like, you've been pulled over by cops? Does it make you nervous? Like, stupid question, but it's just interesting to me to hear your perspective, because you're an executive. You're one of the smartest people I know. You're one of the, I just wonder, like, when you get pulled over, like, if you're nervous.
I always get nervous anytime I encounter police or get pulled over. I get pulled over a lot.
You do?
Not always racial things. No, I drive very fast.
I do too.
Not for driving in the street with a cheeseburger and a cigar.
No, I did not get pulled over for that one. But I operate in a space with two things. One, George Floyd, a lot of things happening this year. It's never not out of in my mind, right? It's always there. And I grew up with parents who were older. My parents were born in the early 40s, and so Emmett Till was a story that was pressing in their heads as kids because they were around the same age. And so I grew up with that. My father left Georgia under threat by police to come up. He came up here, worked railroad, got drafted into Vietnam from here. But that was always a story. And my family in the Deep South, and there's probably never a year of my life where it wasn't an errant boy or something said like that when I was traveling with it in Georgia, South Carolina. My family had a barbecue restaurant on the shore of the Strom-Thurmond Lake. So I encountered different people around those times. So I've always been, it's always been part of me. It's always been something I've seen. But same time in Indiana, I've made a career of past couple jobs in going into very rural places. People who probably haven't talked to a black person all year, and I'm the one they know. And so I operate with a place of privilege sometimes from my standpoint, but also spend a lot of money on clothes and cars that make me more acceptable when I go to these places for my job. So I miss out on some things, but someone always tries to sort of test me or test someone I'm with, and I look out for people where I can. On the scholarship board I chair now, I talk to students in rural parts of Indiana, and they struggle. It's like the only black student in a school in Noble County, Indiana, and they're getting harassed their entire life. And I meet them when they're 17 and escaping. And like, wow, damn, if I had known this before, it would have been able to help you there. But you can't, and I worry about students like that in places where they're the only or they don't have that environment. I volunteer on college campuses now and talk to students, but it's just prevalent, even if it's in your physical space. Even if you have a coalition of folks, it's still on social media and ever present. So I think that, due to cell phone cameras, people see a lot more. Due to everyone sitting at home from COVID, people are aware a lot more. But for a lot of the population, a lot of black and brown folks, the pressure is always there. It's always prevalent.
But now you're seeing it more, and we're able to see it more.
Everyone's seeing it more. And people
Sure.
are talking about it more. And you can protest, and people are galvanized because no one has to go to work and not doing anything. And COVID is
let me
brought it
ask
to
you
the
this,
forefront.
Richard. With the ideas of systemic racism and racial injustice and all these things that are now kind of right in front of us almost every day, do you feel like since George Floyd and then on, I mean, you list the names, right? Do you think it's different than what happened, a couple years ago when we were in Missouri, right? And then it just kind of faded away. And I don't want to say faded away, but there wasn't a huge push. Now you've got NBA teams walking off. Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of different things happening. Do you feel it's different this time, or is it just? I mean, how do we get from let's all protest to real change? How does that happen? Can it happen this time?
I mean, I think in a year, 2020 has just been a hodgepodge of things overlapping. But I think that's why. I mean, it's COVID. People were at home. Mm-hmm. Everyone got to see it. It's a slow news cycle. There's nothing going on. No sports are happening. You can't go anywhere. People aren't working. Everyone is feeling the tension and seeing, like, how is this happening now? And so I think it's an inflection point. I mean, it's a perfect alignment of things. Sometimes it takes, you don't see things until you stop, right? If everyone's moving, you don't see the injustice happening on a street corner. But if everyone's standing there watching, then you see it and you notice it, and then so it sparks something. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a convergence of things. If it's the best thing that comes out of 2020 is social change, despite COVID, this is what
maybe
happened.
It's a better year than we think it was.
Like,
right?
why did we notice this year instead of last year? Why
Right.
did we notice? Because people were sitting at home watching.
Mm-hmm. One of the rallying cries you hear from a lot of the people that are protesting is to defund the police department. And then I, of course, as a mayor, and I'm sure Mayor Prince gets asked the same types of questions I get asked by some residents that say, what are you going to do to defund the police department in Hammond, Mayor? And I just wonder, like, first off, I think, with our neighbor in Chicago and some of the violence that plagues that city, I think that we would be crazy if we defunded the police department personally. But, like, I just wonder what your opinion is on that matter. Like, what advice would you give to me as a mayor and how I approach my police department?
So my job as chief of staff when I was working in city administration was to present the rough idea, the one that no one else can fathom or think about or hold. Mm-hmm. And that meant that some dinners with the mayor and advising, because this was a conversation we had in 2013. 75, almost 80% of Gary's budget was public safety. And you start talking to the DOJ and look at numbers, like, hey, we could get by with a lot less. How do we do that?
Gotcha.
And that was the shortest dinner I ever had with the mayor. Mm-hmm. Because she got up and walked out.
Right.
It's just like,
right.
I'm not cutting police officers.
Right.
I'm not going to half. Like, hey, we can manage Gary with 100 police officers. We staff it this way. And it was like,
yeah,
eating alone now.
I mean, so
right. and that would save tremendous amount of money,
if you
obviously.
look at it overall, I mean, even if you're talking about, so I want to speak for the black community and talk about policing and going back to the entire history of the country and what the police mean. But I don't necessarily have to do that. Having more police officers doesn't make you more safe. Some people feel safe. Yeah. But at the margins of, those who have and those who have not, it's very different. Mm-hmm. Like, they're enforcers and they serve in a different capacity. And that doesn't change the lives of those people. You arrest more people, you
put more people in jail.
But that
have more
doesn't
people with a
change the
criminal
lives of
record.
folks. So, this is America. We have more prisoners than every other country in the world combined. Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Right? Mm-hmm. And why is that?
We're one of the only countries in the world that has the gun violence that we have also,
right.
which is crazy.
Right.
Like, I was talking to a friend, Kevin and I had dinner with a gentleman from Australia, and he came over to America. He's running the toll road now. You probably met this gentleman. I forgot his name.
I do too.
But he was from
Not
Sydney.
running anymore.
And then we were talking to him, and we were having a conversation like the one we're having now. And he was talking about what's the biggest change coming to America and living here. He's like, oh, gun violence for sure. And I was like, really? I go, you don't have gun violence in Sydney? He goes, He goes, I've lived in Sydney for 20-something years. And he goes, we have had one murder in 20-something years. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah. I go, well, how did that murder happen? He said, it was an American. They came to Australia and killed somebody.
I mean, we definitely have a gun culture.
Isn't that crazy, though? Like, that is so beyond comprehension for me. Like, they have one murder in a large city like that in years.
I was in Manchester right after the Ariana Grande bombing happened, and everyone was militarizing, guns, all this stuff happening.
In Manchester?
In Manchester. So I landed, like, a couple hours after the bombing happened. And so that week I'm walking around and I'm staying at a hotel by Manchester United, like 100 feet from the stadium. And I'm walking around taking photos. And the cops walk up to me and said, "You must be an American." I was like, "Well, how'd you know?" And it's like, because everyone else is nervous around us with these guns, and you're just like taking photos, like it's out here. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
What are you carrying there?
Police have guns, you know. It's a
Yeah,
thing.
right.
And it's like, no, but we don't normally have our guns.
Really?
Not
We have
out.
our guns. No,
That's
not out.
interesting.
They have them in the car.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's right.
Yeah. That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, the situation we had in Kenosha, believe me, this thought has passed my mind, is do officers need to have guns on them? Could they just have, like, non-lethal force on them? And if they need the lethal force, it's in their car. And obviously that's a big,
countries do that.
obviously that's a humongous decision. I was just passing through my mind, and I was thinking with the situation with Jacob Blake in Kenosha, where if that officer doesn't have a gun in his holster, Jacob Blake's, you know, well, he's alive right now, but he's not paralyzed as he is right now. Like, that's the thing about that situation where a person's committed a misdemeanor, which is resisting law enforcement, trying to get away, and the officer uses lethal force to stop that. That is just beyond
in a
comprehension.
counter
In the
universe on
In the back,
on
right.
the show The Watchmen on HBO from last year, they had their guns holstered and locked, and so it had a remote. You had to call in and get approval to unholster the gun. In the show, like the police officer, it's like, I need approval for the situation. It's a dangerous situation. Unlock my gun. It's like, well, describe it to me. And so it's going through that, but it's an extreme example, and he does not get the gun out in time for the dangerous situation. But,
I think that's the argument, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're the police, you're saying, well, you know, we're such a militarized society or a gun society that we have to have our weapons ready, because what if we're confronted with somebody with a gun?
If you see deadly force coming at you, then you have the right. But like,
well, but a police officer's standard of deadly force can't be the same as you and I. He can't be
That's
as
right.
afraid as me.
right.
And so, and you also have to put some things in place. You can't create the danger. You can't run into a dark alley with your gun, or I can't even remember the case now. Go around somebody's house and you're inspecting someone's house and pull out a gun because you hear noise in the house.
Right.
You know,
Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, shooting someone in the house.
Breonna Taylor. That was
Breonna
the
Taylor
one.
in
That was
Louisville.
Atlanta.
In Louisville.
No, that was the one where they did the raid on the house.
The raid,
That's
the raid in
It
the
was
house.
wrong
Yes, yeah, that was the wrong house. But there's also one, I can't remember her name at all, but she was at her house with her nephew playing video games, and the back door was unlocked. And so they shot. She grabbed her gun because she hears someone outside.
Oh, that's
Police shot
right.
through the window.
That was recently,
and it's
too.
like,
That's
I
right.
remember. You're right.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that one.
I
Yep.
forgot about that one.
Yep.
but that's the other thing. There's some communities that you fear the police. You fear calling the police. You're not sure what might happen.
And I think that's something that, you know, white America has to come to grips with. It.
No
I think
doubt.
that, you know, one of the things that I would, if I was talking to friends of mine, white friends of mine, I would say, look, you know, you gotta be thoughtful on this issue. You can't just be like, oh, well, why? Just listen to the police. Well,
Right.
it's easy for you to say that, but if your whole, I guess you got to put yourself in other people's shoes. I saw, I think Councilman Barry had a great post a couple weeks ago about this. You know, try to put yourself in other folks' shoes. Be thoughtful on the issue. Don't react because you see some video on Facebook, because there are different perspectives on this. Like Richard just said, there are communities where you don't want to call the police because you don't trust them. And that's not our. I really feel that Hammond's got a great police department, Mayor.
Well, I think that
It's diverse. It's
but
good.
Honestly, the thing in Hammond that we did that was over the FOP, they weren't crazy about it, was we equipped all officers with body cams.
Yeah.
And now, like, I just got done going to talk to all the police officers in patrol, telling them how much of a lifeline that body cam is. I'm like, make sure you're taping everything. Tape everything.
Didn't have it
Like,
in Kenosha, by the way.
They did not have it in
Did not have
Kenosha.
body cams.
And by the way, like, you know, there's some situations where the body cam will save the officer, because a lot of times when you're looking at somebody's cell phone video, it's only like certain, you know, a certain part of the incident that happened, and it's not the whole incident. You know, we had a couple situations where the body cam saved the officer in Hammond.
Well, I think it puts everybody on notice, the police officer and the public.
So
that you're on camera.
I would even step back for a second to say there are a lot of justifiable shootings under the law. A lot that happen,
Right.
justifiable. But I would even argue, and I think core Black Lives Matter movement, people who believe in it, those shootings don't have to happen. You don't have to respond with deadly force. There are other ways to respond.
Like the
There
Atlanta.
are other ways to not escalate a situation. There are other ways to approach different things.
Let me ask you a question about the Atlanta, the one in the Wendy's. That was Rashard Brooks, if I remember.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right?
Rashard
Brooks in Atlanta, where he falls asleep in the Wendy's drive-thru. He was awakened by officers, and it starts off like a normal arrest, or he's getting
Like a
arrested
DUI
for-
or whatever, right?
And then it turns very, very confrontational. He starts fighting the officer, gets tased, gets a hold of the officer's taser, runs away, turns around with a deactivated taser, and points it at the officers, and they kill them. That's a rough one, right? But like,
I don't know. I don't think it's. I mean, at some point in time, you're not even supposed to shoot a taser at someone running away. A lot of departments have guidance. You can't hit somebody in the back with a taser,
right? Yeah,
because they'll fall and they'll break their face or something, right? So you're not supposed to taser anyone in the back. Apprehend them another kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Or it's like,
and so you shooting someone in the back running away is probably even worse than that. I
agree.
Right? It's not necessary. But in a scuffle, you're like, hey, I'm big, I have a gun, I'm doing, and you're human, right? But you also shouldn't have this power over others, because police officers aren't judge your
right?
Right? They're police officers,
right?
Enforce the law. And I think, look, some of it may have to do with it's a training issue. If police officers have been trained a certain way for the last who knows how many years, is it a retraining? Is it looking at things differently? Because at the end of the day, you can't say, oh, my taser's not lethal force, but it's lethal force when it's pointed at me.
That's the interesting thing, because the officers say that all the time, is this is non-lethal force, a taser. But then Rashard Brooks points non-lethal force at him. But like, when you're pointing the taser at me, it's lethal force. But if I'm using it on you, it's non-lethal force.
No, and there are ways to justify that.
Right?
There are ways to justify it. But I mean, everyone here is at least went to law school. We call ourselves lawyers.
Over here,
that's a lawyer.
That's right. That's the practice.
But there's the whole everything in the justice system. There's a lot of things happening.
Let me ask you another question, Richard. Do you think that obviously, what we're seeing in Chicago, locally, we've seen it in Cal City, or seeing it in Kenosha with the rioting and the looting that's taking place. Do you think that's taken away from the movement?
Does it dilute the message?
I don't think so. I think if you're looking for a reason for the message to be, diluted or taken off course, then you'll find it there. I don't think that the people who believe Black Lives Matter, who believe in defunding the police, are looting. Right. That's not part of it.
But
right?
I think
but you have civil unrest
for sure.
And civil unrest in a failing country from a lot of different standpoints, you're gonna have rioting and looting. Mob action happens. Mm-hmm. And you're just gonna see it that way. And that's gonna continue until these things stabilize, people get back to work, other things happen, people have faith in the country again. But you'll see it all the time. It's lack of faith in leadership.
But don't you think some of it's just taking advantage? Or do you see rioters, people that are not looting? Folks are just going into liquor stores
like the one
and breaking windows.
Right. Like 2 weeks ago in Chicago.
And you hear like, oh, this is just part. It's kind of like a side tangential thing that happens when you have civil unrest. But doesn't it dilute the message somewhat? Aren't you saying? Because I'm saying maybe from white America perspective.
No. I mean, I think there are a lot of white Americans looting. I think people taking advantage.
There are definitely a lot of white Americans.
But think about it from a business and corporate standpoint. Mm-hmm. People are making tons of money right now in the market. People are buying companies. People are doing things. People are taking advantage.
The market keeps going up for some reason.
The market's up 100%.
Because people are looting and pillaging in other ways.
Yeah.
Right. You exercise the power that you have.
That's interesting.
It's interesting.
And the message is diluted because we talk about what we see. People. I can explain this. I can't explain why the market's going up. I can't explain.
Nobody can.
I can explain more
sense.
Private jets flying over your house and what's happening there. Because why would I?
That's interesting, Richard.
Yeah,
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, but it's all types of people taking advantage of this situation we're in right now. And you have to see who are we talking about and why.
Okay, I got last question. We should probably start wrapping up here in a second.
Sure.
Let's say Mayor Prince steps down and makes you mayor tomorrow. What do you do with the Gary Police Department? Do you do anything different than they're doing now? Do you cut them? Do you put body cams on? What would you do if you're in that position?
Well, no, definitely body cams. Mm-hmm. Definitely body cams. I think there's some great work happening now in partnership with the sheriff, and like decentralizing it, like moving more into neighborhoods, moving more into like neighborhood centers. I think, but the use of technology and cameras, body cameras in neighborhoods, working with the block clubs, the Urban League, and doing stuff like that. I think that's an approach, and I think that Gary gets a bad rap for crime or whatever, but it's not. There's very little random violence in Gary at all.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that? You mean it's like drug dealing, or it's like stuff happening overnight, like 2 a.m, 3 a.m.
Gang related, drug related.
That's like when people talk to me from around the country, they talk to me about Chicago, and I say I ride my bike to Chicago. Mm-hmm. I do it
through the South Side,
and they're like, "You're crazy! You ride your bike to Chicago?" I'm like,
"You get that all the time."
I'm like, Chicago's not like that. Like if I was dealing drugs on the South Side at 2 a.m, I'd probably be nervous. But like if you're riding your bike to the loop and back, you're not going to get shot just like randomly. You don't see like people getting picked off on their bikes.
No.
And that's the same in Hammond, by the way, too. What Richard said is Hammond, a lot of the times when I get these murder calls, I look at what time it took place, under what circumstances. It's not very often that you're just like a good citizen walking around and you get murdered.
No,
It's
you
like
would hope not.
drug dealer gets killed, great random gang violence, shooting back and forth at each other. That's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with.
And Gary's divided up in a way that most cities around here aren't. Most cities are borders town when it comes to the highway. But Gary has 3 major highways intersecting the city.
True.
And people look at that as an economic advantage, but it's not. It's actually
Advantage for the criminals.
because it breaks up neighborhoods. It breaks up, makes it easy to get in and out of places. And there's nothing that sticks. I think a lot of Hammond neighborhoods stick because you are in a place.
Oh, yeah.
You're way off the highway, way in the neighborhood.
You're right.
And if you look at
like a little
maps of cities over time, that's what happens. I mean, you have
That's
bigger
interesting,
cities,
too.
Boston, Seattle, that tore down the inner city sort of highway that went through the city. Indianapolis is trying to figure it out now. There's a lot of crazy things happening there with the history of race and how the highway was built. But I think too many times we talk about how people feel about a community or how people feel about a neighborhood, how people feel about black people versus white people. And there are a lot of structural things that we don't study and happen to look at. And there are a lot of facts around it. Gary's the size of Boston. Gary's bigger than Boston and San Francisco.
Yeah, Gary's
The 111 for the population.
Gary's
Right.
50 square miles, twice as big as the city of Hammond. We have the same population. Gary has fewer police officers than the city of Hammond, patrolling twice as big of an area with
the same amount of people.
population.
Gary has over 50 parks.
Wow.
During the early 2000s, before things got cut, Gary had about 400 parks and general service employees. Under our administration, we had 27.
Wow.
You don't have enough. If everyone in the city worked to cut grass, you wouldn't get all the parks cut.
I think the one thing that you did today, Richard, is you really gave us a lot to think about, and I appreciate that.
I do too.
We're friends, obviously, but having you on today was really great. I know you're a success story. You're somebody that people can look up to, and it was real thoughtful today, and I appreciate you coming on.
So why can't we do this in the evening with beer?
We could. We're going to work on that.
There's nothing going on. There's no reason.
we
to
could have
meet
a beer
at 7 in the morning.
People.
Why?
Yeah,
we talking about
People
that?
watch.
There's 113
People listen.
people that
I'm
want to
with
hear
you.
what
If
you
they were
have to
watching
say.
the evening, we could replay
No,
it
they
in the
don't.
morning.
They're all
Let's
busy
try
at
that.
night.
We'll try that.
No.
We'll do the afternoon show. No, thanks
All right.
a lot, Richard.
Rich, we
Scared of
appreciate
prime
it.
time.
We appreciate you coming on.
All right.
A
Well,
lot.
thank you all for
Hey,
having
by
me.
the way, on
Love in the city.
Friday's show, we have Jerry Davids from the Post Tribune. That'll be a good show also.
I biked 100 miles with that man before.
Did you?
We're going to bring that up.
Yeah, we did from Lansing to Michigan City.
Really?
Back home.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
I could do that.
We
Did
could
you
do
do
it.
it in one day?
Yeah,
I bet
it was like
I bet you your butt hurts so bad.
I have good shorts.
Well, I want to leave it on
No, I
that.
do
I
too.
bet your butt hurts so bad.
Dude,
and that'll
that's
be
the
the end
thing.
of the
Like
pod.
when I ride a long way, it's my butt that gives out first.
You got to spend money on a good seat.
I think you know what, John. I think it's time. We're talking about the mayor's butt. Time to
Think
time
about
to,
that. We can
Time to
stand up
stop the
and show
pod.
how we ride. We can stand up and show our shorts and everything.
Yeah, right.
We need that.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Richard.
Richard.
Where's the leg
Great.
camera?
Left of center.
All right.
Tune in Friday for Jerry Davids. Thanks a lot, Richard Leverett
Oh, thanks.
from AT&T.